All right, let's jump right in. The economy. It's a word you hear pretty much every single day, but what does it actually mean? How does it all really connect? So today we're going to pull back the curtain and break down the fundamental engine that powers our world.
And we're going to kick things off with a pretty simple question. Just think about the last time you bought a burger. What on earth could that single, simple burger possibly have to do with something as huge and complicated as an entire nation's economy?
Well, the answer is everything. You see, that burger isn't just a burger. It's the final link in this massive, invisible chain of decisions. And to really get how it all works, you first have to understand that every single society in history has had to answer three fundamental questions.
And look, these aren't just some dusty old questions from an economics textbook. No, every single society, whether we're talking about an ancient tribe or a modern-day superpower, has to wrestle with these same three problems. It's the core challenge of organizing people. First up, what are we even going to make? Do we use our resources to make pizzas or to make shirts? Do we focus on stuff for today or build more machines for tomorrow? Second, how are we going to make it? Who does the work? What kind of tech do we use? Are we talking about people or robots? And finally, the big one. For whom are we making all this stuff? Who actually gets to eat the pizza and wear the shirts? How do we slice up the economic pie?
So to really get a grip on that how question, we need to know who's in the game and what pieces they're playing with. Let's start with the players because in economics, it's actually a lot simpler than you might think.
Okay, now this is where things get really interesting because it shows you how economists see the world. You and me, whether we're an employee, let's call him John, or a massive business owner like Mukesh Ambani, in the eyes of an economist, we're all in the same boat. We are all part of what's called the household sector. We're the people. The companies we work for, though, they're totally separate entities, and that distinction is absolutely crucial.
So these companies, these firms, they can't just create stuff out of thin air, right? They need ingredients. And believe it or not, every single input they use, whether it's for a tiny burger stand or a giant car factory, can be boiled down to just four categories. These are the famous four factors of production. First on the list, the entrepreneur. This is the spark plug, the person with the big idea and the guts to take a risk. They're the one who combines the other three factors to get a business off the ground. And for taking on all that risk, what do they hope to get in return? Profit. Second, we have capital. Now, here's a super important point. When an economist says capital, they're usually not talking about money. They're talking about the physical, man-made tools of production, the factory buildings, the delivery trucks, the actual grill that cooked your burger. The payment for using this capital is called interest. Third, we've got natural resources. This one's pretty straightforward. It's all the stuff we get from Mother Nature. It's the land the factory is built on, the water used in the process, the raw materials like coal or oil. And in return for using these resources is called rent. And finally, our fourth factor is labor. This is us. It's the human element, the physical and mental effort that people put into making things, from the person on the assembly line all the way up to the CEO. And the return for our labor is, of course, wages. Okay, so we've got our risk taker, our tools, our natural resources, and our people, all working together. The enterprise is up and running. But what does it actually make? Well, the output, the goods and services, can also be broken down into a few key types. The first big distinction you gotta make is between intermediate and final goods. Think of it like this. Steel sheets are an intermediate good. You can't really do anything with just a sheet of steel. It's an ingredient. But the finished car that's made from that steel, that's a final good, ready for you, the person who's actually gonna drive it. But wait, we can split those final goods into two really important categories. On one hand, you've got consumption goods. These are things that satisfy our immediate needs, like our burger. You eat it, it's gone. But on the other hand, you have capital goods. These are tools, like a tractor, that aren't for us to enjoy right now, but are used to produce more goods in the future. And this next example is just brilliant for wrapping your head around this. Think about a washing machine. If you buy one for your home, that's a consumption good. But if a laundromat owner buys that exact same machine for their business to sell a service, boom, it is now a capital good. So the crucial point is, it's not what the good is, it's how it's used. Okay, so we've got all the pieces on the board, the players, the ingredients, and the finished products. Now for the really cool part. Let's put it all together and see how this amazing economic engine actually runs. Now, to keep things simple, we're going to focus on just two main groups. Households, that's all of us, the people, and enterprises, the companies that are making all the stuff.
Let's start with the bottom half of this circle. We, the households, we own all those factors of production we just talked about. So we provide our labor, our capital, our land to the enterprises. And in exchange for these factor services, what do we get back? Money. The enterprises make factor payments back to us. We get wages for our work, rent for our land, interest for our capital, and profit for our ideas. This is how we all earn our income.
Now for the top half. The enterprises take all those things we gave them, and what do? They make goods and services, like our burger from the very beginning. And what do we, the households, do with that income we just earned? Well, we spend it. We go out and buy those very goods and services. Our spending becomes the enterprise's revenue, and bam, the circle is complete.
And here it is, the whole shebang, this constant two-way street, the circular flow of resources going one way and money going the other. This is literally the heartbeat of the economy. It's a self-perpetuating loop that just keeps going.
But, just running in a circle isn't enough, right? We want the economy to grow. How do we make sure there's more for everyone next year? The secret ingredient is investment. And again, when economists talk about investment for a whole country, they're not talking about buying stocks. They mean something much more real, the part of our total output that is made up of new capital goods. It's the creation of new factories, better machinery, upgraded tech. That is what increases our capacity to produce more in the future.
And you can see this in action with real-world data. Just look at these numbers for India's investment rate. This number tells you what slice of the economic pie is being plowed back into building for the future. A higher rate means you're planting more seeds for future harvests, building the capacity to be much more productive down the road.
So we've come full circle, from a single burger all the way to the engine that drives the entire economy. It shows that every action we take, the work we do, the things we buy, is a vital part of this flow. Which leaves us with a final thought. Your spending is an enterprise's income, and your work becomes their output. Knowing that, what role will you choose to play in that?